saying something like that. And it's been required to always go to the sleep position.
Okay.
Yeah, shall we? Very nice.
What songs did you sing, Birachandrapur?
So we sang Sri Guru Charan Padma and Vaishnava Bhakti.
Okay.
You know it's your friend?
I'm going to print that song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur that I think everyone should learn, but I forgot today. It's a real sing-along number, Mayura Mukutta Pitambara Dari. But we won't attempt that today because we don't have it, and maybe it's really easy to follow. But instead, let's sing Bhaja Hure Mana on page 155. Bhaja Hure Mana Sri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Bindure. Bhaja Hure Mana Sri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Bindure. Dulabha Manabha Janabha Satsange Tharo e Baba Sindure. Abhaya Charanara Bindure. Bhaja Hure Mana Sri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Bindure. Sita Tapa Bhatta Barishana Edina Jamini Jagire. Vipale Sevino Kripana Durajana Chapala Sukala Balagire Abhaya Charanara Bindure. Bhaja Hure Mana Sri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Bindure. Edana Jobana Putra Parijana Iteki Ache Para Titire. Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Tala Mala Bhaja Hu Hari Pada Nitire. Abhaya Charanara Bindure. Bhaja Hure Mana Sri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Bindure. Shravana Kirtana Smarana Bandana Pada Sevana Dashare. Pujana Sakhi Jana Atmani Vedana Pujana Sakhi Jana Atmani Govinda Dasa Bilasa Re. Abhaya Charanara Vindure Bhaja Hore Mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Vindure Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Saparika Shisi Guru Goranga Sundar Radha Giridhari Jiu Ki Jai. Jam Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jam Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Samadvaita Vaishnava Mandali Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Harinama Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. So, Jai Guru. Welcome everyone. So is this your first time here? Both of you? And have you been to Krishna temples before? ISKCON temple? We're like a sister organization to ISKCON. The founder of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, his guru is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. That's there on the last picture, his guru. And our guru, Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Maharaj, is also disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So that means Prabhupada and Sridhar Maharaj, they're called God brothers, means they have the same guru. And Srila Prabhupada considered our Guru Maharaj as his Shiksha Guru. Shiksha Guru means instructing Guru, who we receive instruction from. And his successor, Srila Govinda Maharaj, and one of his successors, Srila Acharya Maharaj there. So this is our line of descent. So we are same concern. We are not different, only with different guru, that's all. And we're also accepting Srila Prabhupada as our guru. And you see on our altar is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is considered to be an incarnation of Krishna who appeared just 500 years ago in East Bengal to teach the Juga Dharma. The Juga Dharma means the process of self-realization for this age. The universe revolves in different ages, something like the seasons of the earth. So here we have, winter, spring, summer, autumn, and then winter, spring, going in a circle. So in the world, or the universe, there's also like a universal season. They're called Jugas. Juga means ages, if you like. In Sanskrit, Juga. So that means the first age is called the Satya Yuga, which is considered to be the golden age of man. Satya Yuga, then Treta Yuga, the silver age, then Dwapara Yuga, or the bronze age, and the current age, Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga means the iron age, and it is considered to be an ocean of faults in this age. So, but in every age, there's a particular process given by God for awakening our inner consciousness, our spiritual nature. In the Satya Yuga, it is by intense meditation. And in Treta Yuga, by all kinds of sacrifice. And in Dwapara Yuga, very elaborate temple worship. But in Kali Yuga, where everyone is short-lived and troubled, then the process, very simple process, the chanting of the holy names of God. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to teach that. And we can understand that this age is, from material point of view, difficult age. The Iron Age, but is also called the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And why? Because in this age, none of us, from the youngest to the oldest that are here today, not one of us has lived a day when there hasn't been some war going on in the world. Somewhere. Some fighting, some conflict. And over what? Over borders generally, isn't it? This is my land. I want this land to be my land. Or, you understand. But people fight over that because they want to possess areas of land and call them their own. But we are thinking that we can't own the earth, rather we are of the earth, and the earth is her own person, actually. We are considering the earth like a goddess. She's called Bhumi. Bhumi is the personification of the earth. And in the ancient scriptures of India, she is portrayed as a cow, the goddess earth. And something like in Greek philosophy, they call Gaia, means the living goddess. So we try to consider the earth to be a living goddess, and that means we should try to walk lightly on her. So it is told, the earth can bear any weight except that of a liar. And in this Kali Yuga, everyone is a liar. And especially those who we are asked to put our trust in, they're the biggest liars. We saw recently on a news program that our previous Prime Minister, Mr. Johnson, he was being questioned by some school children. And one little girl, she said, since you've been in politics, have you ever lied? And he said, and when they asked the question, well, all the adults there, they all laughed, right? They all laughed. And then he said, no, I've never lied. And then everyone laughed again because they knew that even that was a lie. So he built his whole career on that. So, but actually, we laugh and we think, but it's actually quite a serious thing, because the last of the sages of the Vedic age, he was called Karabhajan Rishi. And in his teachings, he says that when the leaders of society lie, it creates pollution in the ether, in the subtle plane, and that manifests itself as diseases, epidemics, and so on. So we shouldn't be surprised that, we've all been suffering this COVID thing for so many years. And it's more to do with the leaders of society polluting the atmosphere by lying. It is a serious thing. It's a serious thing. The people we're asked to put our greatest trust in, they're all liars and cheats. And that is one of the symptoms of this age, the Kali age, that everyone's a hypocrite. They say one thing and then do the opposite. So, conflict and hypocrisy. That's the symptom of this age. We find it all the time. And what we can do about that? Nothing we can do about that. So, but in this age, there is one good thing, and that is kirtan. And Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya, he came to teach this kirtan to the world. That is the chanting of the holy names of God. That purifies the atmosphere and also purifies our own consciousness. He left behind 8 essential teachings. They're known as the Shikastakam. Shika means teaching, and Astakam means 8. So 8 verses of instruction for us. But his followers, based on those 8 instructions, they've written volumes and volumes and volumes of books expanding on that, explaining that to us. A great wealth. But the first of those 8 teachings, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Bhava Mahadavagni Nivapanam, Shreya Kairava Chandrika, Bitaranam Vidya Bhadujivanam, Anandam Buddhivardhanam, Pratipadam Punamritashvadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. That the chanting of the Lord's names, and Lord Chaitanya taught us the chanting of this Maha Mantra. There are many mantras, in coming from India in the Vedic scripture, but the Maha Mantra, Maha means the great mantra, the supreme mantra given in the scripture, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Lord Chaitanya taught, you can chant any name of God, that's okay, any name you like, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, Vishnu, Rama, Krishna. They're all good because they refer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But especially, he taught this chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And he taught Cheto Darpana Marjanam, that the effect of this chanting of the holy names of the Lord, this Mahamantra, is that it clears the mirror of our consciousness. Our consciousness is described like a mirror. So when a mirror is very clean, you can see your reflection in that. But if the mirror is covered with heavy dust, you can't see clearly who you are. So like that. So when we chant, especially in kirtan, the names of the Lord, then the mirror of our consciousness or the mirror of our heart becomes cleaned. And that means we can see who we are. We can perceive our own self. Now everyone's walking around mistakenly thinking that they're this body, that they're this, flesh and blood and mind and consciousness, all these things. They're thinking this is them. That all these things that we've acquired. First of all, everyone's looking in the mirror and thinking, yeah, quite good, or could be better, or, want to make some adjustment to that today, So, and we're bombarded with propaganda, advertising to convince us of that, right? You should use this cream, it'll make you look 10 years younger if you use this cream. And why should you use this cream? Because you're worth it, right? This is just all advertising, propaganda to make us slaves to this imagined ideal of who we should be and what we should be. They're very clever advertisers. They don't try to sell you a product anymore. First of all, they can't, because they used to make all kinds of claims. When I was growing up, there was all kinds of claims about, if you want to be healthy, this is true. If you want to be healthy, you should smoke this brand of cigarette. Very good for you. They said like that. And then somebody said, hold on a minute, doesn't that give you cancer? Yeah, then you can't really say that anymore. So, all these laws came in to protect us from that. But, so, what do they do now? They don't try and sell you directly a product and say this will... They try and sell you a lifestyle, right? Like, if you want to be fit, you have to have an Apple Watch. Because no one was fit before having an Apple Watch, were they? And then, it'll tell you everything that you need to do. And the advertising is, some cool guy running through the Californian mountainside with his girlfriend by his side, and you can be that cool person if you just buy this watch. Believe me, you will. Everything will change if you have this. And people believe it, they go for it. Yeah, really, I should try and do that, I get that watch, or get that car, or get that new 60-inch plasma screen television, or whatever it is. But as Joni Mitchell, the American folk singer, said, there must be more to living than a mortgage and a lawn to mow. That's what everybody's aspiring for, isn't it, in life? But what is that? We don't even think about that, right? Mortgage. That's a French word. What does it mean? Mort means death, and gage means the noose. It means the noose of death. How that became the accepted term for a loan to buy your house, I don't know. But nobody thinks, yep, sign me up for that, please. I'd like one of those nooses of death around my... Perhaps that's how it was. If you didn't make your payments, they'll come and string you up. I don't know. But everyone's up for that, right? Yeah, I need a mortgage. I need a noose of death around my neck, yeah. Then I'll be okay. So, all these things that we don't even think about. We're just kind of brainwashed into believing that we should aspire for these things. And what's the biggest lie that they tell us? That if you are wealthy and independent, then you'll be happy. That's how you be happy in this world. Have wealth and independence, you can get everything you want. And that's what you should strive for. And they also tell us, if you work hard, you can get everything you want. But that's also a lie, right? We know people, I'm sure you all know people, that work really hard and they've got nothing at all to show for it. And then there are other people who hardly do anything and everything just falls in their lap. They get whatever they want, isn't it? Nothing to do with hard work. It's all about karma. What you did is what you'll get in return. And that's a very complicated system also. Nobody knows how that actually works. Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, he said, I made this law of karma, but I don't know how it works either. So no one can say, like I fell off my bike, it was because I pushed this old lady over when I was a teenager. It doesn't quite work like that, it's a culmination of things. But generally people think, if you do good, you'll get good will come to you in return. Or if you do bad things will come to you. But everybody knows that bad things happen to good people all the time. Why? It's just the way it is, it's just the way it is. So there's nothing you can do that'll make your karma happen. It's already going to happen. And there's nothing you can do that'll stop your karma happening. It's coming. Nobody wants to be unhappy, do they? Everyone's striving for happiness. And everyone's going along, zippity-doo-dah, and, happy as can be. And then just out of the blue, something terrible happens, isn't it? Like something you weren't expecting. Somebody you love suddenly dies, or, has some incurable disease, or, something happens and it's beyond your control. Nobody is, aiming for unhappiness in their life, but unhappiness is going to come. As the old song says, there's only 3 things for sure: taxes, death, and trouble. This I know. And it's true.
This term karma has quite often a negative connotation. Like people think that having karma means getting something bad in your life or some reaction, but it also can mean getting something really good in life, something...
Yeah. Actually, karma just means work, actually. It means activity. Whatever you do, it has consequences, everything. So, then our Guru Maharaj used to quote Isaac Newton. I think it's the 3rd law of thermodynamics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So that's the law of karma. Whatever you do, some reaction will come from it. Good or bad. And it's a mixture of the two. But no one can, you can't map that out, And people, something bad happens, you say, oh, bad karma, man, it's bad karma. But nobody really understands what that is. And actually some people get very offended by that, right? I remember when I was younger, and maybe you'll remember this also, the manager of the England football team, Glenn Hoddle, he said in public, he said that that disabled people are getting the karma of something they did, sinful thing or something bad they did in a previous life, and even the Prime Minister was calling for his resignation for saying such an outrageous thing. But actually, that's the truth. Whatever happens to us is a result of what we've done. It's not just like being vindictive and, saying, disabled people are all wicked people. We're all, a mixture of good and bad, and different things happen. Otherwise, how can you explain that? How can you explain that a child's born in a country where they can't even get a bowl of rice every day to eat, and at the same time another child is born in a house and a home of luxury? Why? Why is that's very, if you say that there's a God, that seems to be very arbitrary, doesn't it? Very kind of discriminate. Oh, that just someone's born in a very bad situation, somebody born in a very good situation, but then how is everybody equal? And they'll also say, oh, there's only one life. So then it is very... I remember asking my priest when I was growing up, our family priest at the church, like, why is that? That very question I asked him. Why some kids are born in, at that time there was Bangladesh. Remember there was like a big famine in Bangladesh. And awful pictures on the news of children, emaciated children dying because they can't find enough to eat. And it was, like pulling at our heartstrings a little bit. And I remember asking our priest, like, why does God allow that to happen? And all he could say was, it's a mystery. It's a mystery. And I thought, oh, what a cop-out, Like you're meant to be the ambassador of God, right? And all you can say, it's a mystery. We don't understand. We do understand. It's a result of karma. That doesn't mean it makes you, ambivalent to the suffering of others. It's just how we can understand that happens, that how God allows that to happen. Nothing to do with him directly. He's not punishing people or anything. It's just a result of our previous actions. What we've done in one life will determine what happens to us in our next life. And whether good or bad. But ultimately, pretty much everything's bad in this world. Everything you do has some bad result. The German philosopher Immanuel Kant, he said, there's nothing pure in this world except pure intention. But our Guru Maharaj said, but we don't even believe there's pure intention in this world. Everything has some bad connotation to it, somewhere along the line. And we all know the saying, right? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. People try to do the best that they can, but, mess it up. What's good for you must be bad for somebody else. That's just the way this world works. So then they say that the best system is the greatest good for the greatest number. Okay, that's maybe as good as we can get in this world. But that also implies that there must be some minority that has to suffer for that. The greatest good for it can't be the greatest good for everyone. Some minority has to suffer for that. It's just the way it is. Because this is the age we live in and this is the world we live in. So what should we do? We can try and campaign and make our, try to make the world better for everybody. Okay, that's a noble idea, but not really practical. So Bhagavad Gita, one of our main scriptures, which is Krishna's conversation with Arjuna on the battlefield 5,000 years ago. The central teaching of that is that you can't change the environment. And what is the environment? According to Einstein, the environment is everything that isn't you is the environment. You can't change that. Maybe a little bit here, a little bit there. But you can't change your environment. But you can change yourself. And that's the central teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Change yourself. And that way you change your environment. If everyone will try to change themselves, then we can effect some change in the world. You know, maybe you've heard of the Baha'i faith in India. It's a religious movement. And their slogan, if you like, their slogan is changing the world one heart at a time. I kind of like that. That's all we can do. We haven't got enough power to change the world. When we're young, and we're foolish, we think we can change the world, isn't it, you know? We go on all the marches and everything to try and change the world, but when you get older and you get a little bit jaded, you realize, no, it's just the same as it always was. Nothing's changed. And again, that doesn't mean that we should be callous or hard-hearted to the suffering of others. But if we can understand it, then all we can do is try to change ourselves. I saw a cartoon, in a magazine, and it's like a man at the podium, a politician perhaps or something, and a big crowd of people around him, and he says, "Who wants change?" And they, "Yeah, we all want change. Yes, we want change." Then the next thing he says, "Who wants to change?" Silence. But this is the crucial thing. We can't change the world, but we can change ourselves. So we have to look at ourselves. In Sanskrit, in yoga philosophy, that's called Atmanikepana. That means self-examination, to look at myself. And that's sometimes a little painful, to look at yourself and see who you are, where you are. You know, we are always thinking that I'm right. I'm right. Everything I think is right, and everyone else is wrong. But maybe that's not true. Maybe we're completely wrong. And that this is the first step. So the third verse, first of all, Lord Chaitanya is telling us, by the chanting of this holy name of the Lord, our consciousness, the mirror of our consciousness becomes cleaned, and we can begin to see who we are. We are the spirit soul residing within the body. We're not the body, and we're not our mind either. People often think that they're their mind. But we all know, right? We always say it, "I changed my mind." So that can't be you if it's changeable. You is the one thing that is not changeable. You is the one thing that's permanent. What is it? What is it that remains with us? When we were a baby and we had a little baby's body crawling around, and now we've got a completely different body, but you still remain the same person, isn't it? So you weren't that baby body, and you're not the body that you are now. And you're also not all the thoughts that have accumulated within you. You're not that either, because that's changeable. You know, no one really has an original thought. Everybody just hears something from somebody else and adapts that or adopts that as their outlook on things. That's changeable. But who you are remains a constant. You know, our Guru Maharaj said, I was overhearing on a train once a conversation. Two men were debating, and one said, "I believe that God exists." And his friend, he said, "I doubt that God exists. I don't think God exists." So this way they're debating. And then our Guru Maharaj, he said, I said, "You know, I don't mean to butt in on your conversation, but I couldn't help overhearing what you were saying. But my question to you, you know, who says I doubt that God exists. My question to you is, does the doubter exist? This is my question. Not does God exist, but the person who doubts that God exists, does he exist? Then he had to say, well, yeah, I exist, right? Like Descartes says, I think, therefore I am. Right? So I'm aware of my existence. I know that I exist. So then explain that. That was Guru Maharaj's next question. So explain how you exist. What is it that exists? The question of whether God exists or doesn't exist is an idea within consciousness. So the primary thing is consciousness. The first thing that you have to explain is, what is consciousness? And where does consciousness come from? Is consciousness a product of a rock? Like, that's what we're led to believe, right? That there was some big explosion in the void, and over millions of years that cooled down, and from that, whatever it was that exploded, consciousness evolves from that. From something inanimate and dead, life and consciousness evolved from that. And if you say that, oh, I don't know if that, I believe that, people think you're crazy. Right? Or like some kind of primitive ignoramus. Oh, you believe in your, unknown friend in the sky, like, what, like, they think you're a fool if you believe that there may be some kind of divine person or divine power behind everything. But is that any more foolish than thinking that from nothing all of this came? How is that even logical? One of the first things we learn in science at school, right, is that nothing can exist in the effect that doesn't exist in the cause. Isn't it? That's like an accepted scientific principle. If it exists in the effect, it must exist in the cause, even if it's only in a, like a primary or potential state. If there's an effect, it must exist in the cause. So if life evolves, however way it evolves, that potential for life must have existed within its cause, for it to exist within its effect. But we're led to believe that from nothing this came out. And that's like the accepted wisdom of our evolved consciousness. But what is that foolishness? That we're thinking that we have come to the zenith of our understanding of knowledge, that we can understand. Now we've broken the code of the genetic code. We can understand, what life is, how it came about, all of these things. But now they're upset if you say the genetic code. If there's a code, there must be a code maker. Oh no, well, we don't mean code in that way. Anyway, it's kind of why they just don't admit they don't know. We don't know what is the cause of consciousness. And then, it's something that's worth researching. So we say that life comes from life, consciousness comes from consciousness. From the plane of superconsciousness, individual consciousness comes out. And we are, each of us, an individual unit of consciousness. And within that consciousness, we can ask these questions. Does God exist, or does God not exist? But it's still an idea in consciousness. So where is consciousness and what is consciousness? It's more logical to think that consciousness comes from a source of consciousness. It doesn't evolve from a rock or from a fossil. It must come from a plane of consciousness. A plane of consciousness must exist before everything. And then from that plane of consciousness, individual consciousness comes from there. This is our proposal, if you like. This is our proposal, that consciousness exists and we are units of consciousness, or if you like, spirit or soul, that occupy, for now, these bodies. You can say that the body is what allows us to interface with the things and people of this world. Our Guru Maharaj used to say, our Guru Dev used to say, like, if you want to go out into outer space, to be able to survive, you have to wear a spacesuit, isn't it, when you go out from the spaceship? Or otherwise you'll just die immediately in the vacuum of space without that spacesuit. So in this material world, we are spiritual beings, but we need this flesh and blood body so that we can interface with it. But it's not really who we are, and we are the spiritual being within that. And that spiritual being, Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, moves from this body to a new body when this body is finished. This body has its sell-by date. At a certain point, it doesn't work anymore. So you have to leave it and go to a new body. This is transmigration of the soul, or reincarnation. And from that, our consciousness that we've acquired in this life determines the type of body that we'll have in our next life. And actually, this human form of life is very rare. Of the 8,400,000 species of life existing in the world, approximately, very few are human beings. You wouldn't think so, the way we kind of trample all over the earth. We may be the dominant species. But most living beings are not human beings. They're animals, they're insects, they're birds, beasts, trees, inanimate, all kinds of other types of life. And human beings are small in number, in comparison. But the consciousness of the human being is evolved. In the words of our Guru Maharaj, or Srila Gurudev would say, we have the faculty of feeling, thinking, and willing. Now this is in all life, but in the human form, it's fully manifested. Feeling, thinking, and willing. And through that feeling, thinking, and willing, we can examine what is life about? What is the purpose of life? It's a fundamental question. Who am I and what am I doing here? What am I for? Why do I exist? And religionists and philosophers, they've debated this ad infinitum for a long time. And maybe they say, we still haven't come to the conclusion of that question. But this question, fundamental question, has been answered in the Vedic scripture at least 5,000 years ago. And when Lord Chaitanya was spreading the holy name of Krishna all over India and the world, he met one of his foremost disciples, Sanatana Goswami. And Sanatana Goswami, although he was a great scholar and spiritual thinker, he asked Lord Chaitanya, Ki ami in Bengali, Ki ami, that means, who am I? And why am I suffering in this world? And Lord Chaitanya's reply was, Jivara Swarupahoy Nityara Krishna Das, Krishnara Tatasta Shakti Beda Ved Prakash. Jivara Swarupahoy, that means you are the soul or the spirit that dwells inside your body. And what is the form of that? The developed form of that? Jivara Sharupahoy Krishnara Nityadas. You are the eternal servant of Krishna, of God. You are his eternal servant. Krishnara Tatasta Shakti. You come from his marginal energy. That means you can adapt yourself to the material world, or you can adapt yourself to the spiritual world. The margin. Tatasta means margin. Srila Guru Maharaj used to give the example of in India, in 1947, there was partition. And they partitioned India and Pakistan and Bangladesh. So Bangladesh used to be East Bengal, and next to East Bengal, West Bengal. And at the time of partition, it became Bangladesh. And they randomly made a border. And this border, this side is India, this side Bangladesh. But because it was random, that border, in some cases, ran straight down the middle of somebody's house. Like this side of the living room there in Bangladesh, that side of the living room's in India. So for those people, they had to have a dual passport. They can go to Bangladesh, they can go to India. So Guru Maharaj said, this is what Tatastha means. You're in the middle. You have dual citizenship. You can go to the spiritual world or you can go to the material world. You have a passport for either. So here we are. We've chosen to come here in the material world. And we're trying our best to survive and find satisfaction here. But the truth is, because we are spiritual by nature, we can never find true satisfaction from anything here in the material world. Because we're like the spaceman the astronaut in his spacesuit. We're just interfacing with the world through this spacesuit of flesh and blood and our mind, intelligence and everything. We don't know who we are. I don't know who I am. You don't know who you are. But we want to make a relationship with each other. I don't know who you are. You don't know who I am. I don't even know who I am. You don't know who you are. Then what will be the depth of that relationship? It must necessarily only be superficial. First of all, you have to find who you are. What is your spiritual identity? And when you understand that, then you can relate to everybody on the spiritual plane. There you can find real relationship. Otherwise, everything here is all superficial. And it's all, today I love you, I love you, I love you, and tomorrow I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Same person, right? Thought that person was the greatest, my soulmate. I thought it was my soulmate. Then now I realize they leave the cap off the toothpaste all the time. They never put the toilet lid down. They're always leaving a mess, and you understand, right? Those things. Maybe in the beginning we thought they were quite endearing. Now we can't stand it. The way that he makes that noise when he eats his food, I can't stand it. We love them, and now we hate them, we hate them, we hate them. This is like the nature of this world. And even if you are lucky that you find that perfect person for you, your soulmate, if you like, in this world, okay, great. But one of you will die, both of you will die, but sooner or later you'll be separated by death. So nothing here is permanent. Nothing at all. So we can never find satisfaction by trying to look outward, looking to the things and the people and all of the external things in this material world to give us satisfaction. It'll never give us satisfaction. It's like being, to use the old example, a fish out of water. You can give a fish, a plasma TV and a house and a date with a supermodel and, like whatever you think is desirable. But it will never be satisfied until you put that fish back in the water. When it's in its natural environment, there it's happy. Nothing in this world will give that fish any satisfaction outside of the water. So we're like that. We're like a fish out of water, flapping around, trying to enjoy the things of this world, but ultimately there's nothing here that we can really hold on to. In Gita, Krishna says that the wise have concluded that which is always changing doesn't really have any permanent existence. And the reality is that which is always constant. And we have to try and connect with that plane of existence. And that plane of existence is all around us. It's just a matter of making ourselves a good receiver for it. That was Srila Govinda Maharaj's example. He would say, just like now, there's so many radio waves floating around. We can't see them. You know, if you'd have told people that 100 years ago, they'd have probably locked you up in the lunatic asylum. But now, if you've got a radio, you can tune in, right? You like country and Western music, it's on the dial, it's FM, so and so. You tune into that, you can hear it. Right? But you need a proper receiver to be able to receive that station. So the truth, the reality of spiritual existence is all around us. We just have to make ourselves proper receivers for that. To make ourselves a proper receiver, then that naturally will flow into us. We can hear that radio station, if you like, the Akash. And what is the process for doing that? Chinadapi sunichena taroriva suhishnana amanina manadena kirtaniya shadahari. You have to practice humility. You have to practice tolerance. And you have to be able to give honor to everyone. Honor and respect to all. And not to expect any honor or respect for yourself. Lord Chaitanya has taught us this, that who can master those things, they can chant the name of Krishna all the time. And really, the name of Krishna will flow through them. You'll become a satellite for the spiritual reality if you make yourself a proper receiver. That means to be humble. To be humble doesn't mean to think less of yourself. You know, like, not that you think, oh, I'm so rotten and all of these things. It's not, humility doesn't mean thinking less of yourself. It just means thinking about yourself less. You understand the difference? That's humility. And tolerance. To be able to tolerate everything that life throws at you. And the way to do that is to understand that whatever comes in front of me, I've created that. I've attracted that to me. Because of who I am and what I've done, that has come to me. That's like Guru Maharaj said, my karma has come to face me. Now I have to deal with that. So he would say, the poor workman quarrels with his tools. We know that example, right? That the carpenter made a botch up of it and he said, oh, it's because my saw's not very good or not. No, it isn't. It's because he wasn't a very good carpenter. The poor workman quarrels with his tools. So Guru Maharaj, like paraphrasing that, he would say, a poor workman quarrels with his stools. That means that you've eaten something, and as a result, stool comes. As a result of that, inevitably, that comes. And now you're, oh, that's disgusting. Like, I don't want that. It was lovely food, and now this hot other. But it's an inevitable consequence of that. You can't avoid that. So, in other words, whatever you've done, it's coming back. It will come back in another form. And you can't quarrel with that because you created that. So, you know, our tendency is to try and blame everybody else for something, for whatever's wrong with us. Oh, it's their fault. They did this, they did that. I blame you for it. But our teaching is none to blame except ourselves. Whatever comes is because I created that. So maybe a bitter pill to swallow sometime. But if you can understand that nothing can harm you unless you yourself are in the market to be harmed, or no one can cheat you unless you're in the market to be cheated. We want that. We want something cheap. So we accept some cheater. There's plenty of them out there, lots of cheaters out there. who'll gladly take your money and tell you how great you are. But we want something real, and something real means that we will need to sacrifice ourselves to gain that. Just think about it like this, right? Somebody wants to be a doctor or a lawyer or, some high profession. How much of their life do they have to sacrifice to become that? They have to go to university and study medicine and, for so many years. Then they have to do so many years clinical practice as a junior doctor, all these things. But they think it's worthwhile to do that. And in the end, they become, fully qualified doctor or whatever it is. So should we think that the endeavor for understanding spiritual life is not worth that kind of self-sacrifice? It deserves more, because it's essential to who we are. We should be prepared to give whatever is necessary to realize that. If we really believe that it's worthwhile, then whatever is necessary, we're willing to do that. We should be in it for the long run. It's not like, as the song says, I beg your pardon, I never promised you a rose garden. Right? No one says that the spiritual path will be strewn with flower petals. It may be full of thorns. It may be difficult. It may be some trial will come to us. And it should come to us. As Guru Maharaj said, when a swordsmith makes the sword, he knows that he has to heat the steel, beat it, and then put it plunge it into the water, and again take it out, heat it, beat it. But when it goes through that process, it becomes like the invincible weapon. It can't be broken. And so similarly, in our spiritual quest, we must face the fire of ordeal that will come to us. And once we go through that, our spiritual life will be indomitable. It will be forged like steel. But it requires some, trial. It'll happen to all spiritual seekers. It will happen to them. Must. Look at so many examples of spiritual personalities persecuted and tortured. I'm not to say that if you take up spiritual life you're going to be tortured and persecuted, but some trial will come to you. Must do. To prove that you're sincere. You want something cheap, there's plenty of people selling cheap out there. But it won't be the genuine article. It'll be a forgery. So Guru Maharaj says, what's worse? To be a poor man or to possess counterfeit money? Counterfeit money is not only worthless, it's punishable. If you go around trying to buy things with counterfeit money, you may be poor, but if you're poor, at least there's some prospect of you can gain some real wealth in your life. But who wants to rely on counterfeit money? They're going to get caught and punished by the law. So similarly, there are many so-called paths of spirituality that are only just to take your money from you. Give some money, come to our program, and at the end we'll give you a certificate saying how great you are. But that is not our that's not our path. What we are striving for is actually already within you. You just need to awaken that. Not by looking to things to the outside, but going within yourself and finding out what is the truth. And it's only necessary for someone else to activate that within you. Just like the examples given, just like one candle can light 1,000 other candles from the power of that one candle. So similarly, that light is necessary of that one candle, and from that unlimited other candles can be lit. So Similarly, we have that potential within us to show light, to be like an instrument of light, if you like, a spiritual satellite. But it's necessary for somebody to help us to see that, to awaken us. So Guru Maharaj said, no, we're not perfect, but within us is a tendency towards perfection. We strive towards perfection. But if we could make ourselves perfect, we would have done it already. So that's why it's necessary for us to get some help from the spiritual guide, from those who are already realized in the spiritual reality. They can help us awaken to that spiritual reality. Krishna says that in Gita. Try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master with pranipat, pariprashna, sevaya. That means with single regard. Not like, shopping, spiritual tourist. I'll take a little bit from here, a little bit from there, a little bit there, mix it all together, make a little casserole from it, spiritual casserole. I like that bit, I don't like that bit. We'll just mix it all up. Not like that. Singular regard. No, I believe that the line of truth is here. I've come to you. And pranipat, pariprashna. Pariprashna means relevant inquiry. Not like just inquisitive nature, but I have examined myself and I find myself here. I want to go there. How do I go from here to there? Like that. That's the relevant inquiry. And last but not least, sevaya. So that means service. We have to learn to serve the center. Now we're thinking that everyone should serve us. And that, we're the center of the universe. And that our fulfillment is the prime goal, however that is. So we're always looking for things and people that we can exploit in this world for our own upliftment, our own benefit. But the spiritual seeker will look the opposite way. Like Guru Maharaj used to quote John Kennedy, the American president, ask not what your country can do for you, but rather ask, what can I do for my country? So he would say, don't ask Krishna, what can you do for me? But rather ask, what can I do for Krishna? This is you could say, turning point in spiritual reality, in spiritual understanding, that everything is meant for his satisfaction, and I am also meant for that. I am for him. I am meant for him. Then how am I meant for him? In which way? How is that going to manifest in my life? That's where we need the saints and the scriptures to guide us in that way. So that's why Krishna comes himself or sends his ambassador, gurus, messiahs, and so on. They come, prophets, and the scripture to teach us, to help us in the right way. And this is what our mission here is all for that, to try to help everyone realize their fullest spiritual potential. Everyone within them has the potential for a fully realized spiritual life, connecting with the spiritual reality. This is available to everyone because it's the birthright of everyone. Just we have to uncover that. Stop looking in the wrong place. We're all looking for the same thing, for joy, for happiness, for fulfillment. But we're all looking in the wrong place for that. You won't find it here in this world. The answer's already within you. You can find that. Just need to be pointed in the right direction. So this is the aim of Krishna consciousness. And Krishna, he is the all-attractive, supreme personality. You can say God in his fullness. But he may not be just the distributor of reward and punishment, the old man with the beard sitting in the cloud, rewarding the faithful and throwing thunderbolts on the heads of the unfaithful. Not that kind of God, But reality the beautiful, our Guru Maharaj said, search for Sri Krishna, reality the beautiful. Everyone says, the harsh reality of life, but we say reality is beautiful and reality is dancing, and you can join in that universal dance simply by awakening to that reality. So although Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am all in all, everything comes from me, I am the controller, the creator and the destroyer of everything, but I am your friend, I am sympathetic to you, I want to help you. So we're not dealing with an impersonal absolute, we're dealing with the personal absolute, and that person is the most beautiful, most wonderful friend. Krishna is the wonderful wonder of wonders, and there's no end to that wonder once you come in connection with that. And he's giving himself freely to all through the chanting of his holy name. And this is what Kirtan is about. Awakening the self through the chanting of the sacred hymns and mantras given by the great gurus. And we are trying to follow that path, however imperfectly, we are trying to do that. And we ask everyone to give it a try. We can say, this is the best cake you'll ever eat. And we can say so many things, but until you yourself take a slice of that cake and give it a try, you won't know, is it good or not? Might be horrible. But unless you give it a try, you'll never know. So this is our request to everyone. Try it. See if it helps you. See if it changes your perspective on life. See if it begins to awaken you in a way that you never thought possible. This is our experience. 40 years we've been practicing this or trying to practice this. Why? If after 40 years it was just a hoax, we'd be crazy to continue with it, wouldn't we? Like after 40 minutes we'd still be crazy to continue it. But after 40 years we can say something fundamentally wonderful has happened in our life. And we want everyone to share that and to understand that. And all you have to do is give it a go. Give it a go. Try. Sincerely give it a try. Now we can stop our talk. Unless someone has a question. Anyone have a question? Then, yeah. Do you have some question? No. Then and now we can do arati and then take Krishna Prasadam. Jai Sripad, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
We are singing, we're standing up and we
What a beautiful garland.
Do you want cartel from Madonga, Devashis?
No.
Oh.
No, I'll stand when the curtain opens.
Bhaja Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Bhaja Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Bhaja Sri Advaita Gadadhara
jai, Bhakti Devi Brinda Devi Tulasi Devi ki jai, Sri Purushottama ki jai, Baladev Suvarga Jagannath ki jai, Suravakti Veena Vinasaya Shunisi Hare ki jai, Bhakta Pravara Pralay Maharaj ki jai, Grantaraya Srimad Bhagavatam Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Vishnu Vaishnavaya Sava ki jai, Ramataraya Sri Chaitanya Mat ki jai, Dahiya Sakamat ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Vaishnavadam Chapter ki jai, Vishwaya Pitaya Sakamat ki jai, Anantapati Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samarita Vaishnava Mandala ki jai, Samarita Vakta Vrinda ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanand.
What makes this difference that is like from the old scriptures and the new scriptures, and your soul is personal. You want a relationship with God, not like merging into the but those traditions, yoga, is now mindfulness, it's like you are God. You are God and you merge into some consciousness of consciousness. And here, it is like, yeah, God is also a person, but he is beautiful. He is Krishna, he is not. Doesn't have to be all, he's always strong and fresh and he's sweet and he's, you know, all these things of the soul, we like a personal relationship, something personal, instead of how can you have a relationship with God and this life or some concept of love or something. You know, there is God, there's Krishna. He's a transcendental person. It's not like a person of flesh and blood. Yeah, we can sit there, we can talk a little bit